Hey guys, Big Air 01 coming at you with another video on my channel here. I've got a new project. It's a 1995 PW80. This was a bike that I picked up for my youngest son. So when he graduates from the PW50 to the PW80, he'll have a new bike to ride. So I have a little bit of time to work on this bad boy. So anyways, in this video we're going to go over some of the issues that I found when I purchased it, some of the things that I got with it, and we're going to go over some of the things that I made due to this bike, and we'll do an oil change and spark plug slash compression test at the end of the video. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. Okay guys, here we are. We're outside my driveway. We're gonna do some work on this bike. So some of the stuff that we're gonna do to do the oil change and the compression test and an overall cleaning of the bike, these are the stuff I'm gonna use. So it's always good to have the manual. I use this manual quite a bit with my son's PW50, and I'll be using it quite a bit with my PW80 as well. You're gonna need a 12 mil wrench for your drain plug on the oil. And then of course you're going to need some two-stroke gearbox transmission oil. This is specifically designed for wet clutches. It is a 2040 weight. If you were curious, you're going to need a drain bucket and a funnel to put the oil in. You need about 650 mils of oil to put in this bike. This is a ChainLube that I'll use after I clean the chain with the brush and some degreaser. You're going to need a screwdriver to remove some of the guards so you can actually clean the chain. And then you're going to need a spark plug wrench along with a brand new spark plug, which I'll use at the very end. And we'll check the compression to see what the compression is like. And like I said, we're going to use the manual to properly do a compression test on these bikes. So when I bought the bike, the guy was so graciously provided us these parts along with the purchase of the bike. It came with a Chinese top end. I'm not too sure if I'm going to use that. I may end up just rebuilding this bike if it needs it, using a machine shop and making it more of a big bore kit in it. It came with a rear brake assembly, drums assembly. Came with a brand new airbox. As you can see, this one's blue. The whole bike is purple, so I'm kind of excited about that. I don't have to buy a blue box for it. In the end, with the mods and stuff like that I want to do, I may not even need that, but for now, it's kind of nice to have that. I've got a bunch of carburetor parts. It's got a whole cable assembly here, just some random parts that you know, like spare parts that I can use. Obviously, those are all aftermarket, and they look like the Chinese parts. Okay, so this bike is purple and white. Not a big fan of the colors, but overall it's in pretty good shape. You know, the decals are all torn, obviously, so I'm going to remove those in the future. The actual plastic itself is in pretty decent shape. There is a crack right here, but you know, it still feels pretty solid. The tank is a little faded, but it still, you know, looks like it's in pretty decent shape. Even the rear's in pretty good shape here. So, you know, overall, I mean, the guy had to put a brand new seat on it. Unfortunately, I'll probably take that seat off, and I'll probably make I have a seat cover from my WR250R that's blue and black. It's a gripper top, so I'll probably put that on this bike and customize that. So as for the decals, I haven't decided if I want to do a decal kit on it or do my own vinyl wrap. So I would really appreciate you guys if you would leave a comment below what you think I should do. If you think I should do a wrap, sort of like what I did with my son's PW50, which is also on my channel, so check that out. Or you think I should do a decal kit with it. Let me know down below, it'd be awesome. So let's start off with a few things that I noticed wrong with this bike right from the start. Obviously this is a PW80, so it's a two-stroke, it's not a four-stroke. They're pretty low maintenance bikes. You know, I don't foresee a lot of issues with this. When I bought it, it had pretty loose spokes. I've already tightened the spokes up on them, but it's always good to check your spokes. That was one thing that was loose on this bike. I thought it was wheel bearings, but in the end it was just the spokes. So starting at the very top, obviously you're going to need some, I'm going to need some new grips. There's some holes there, you know, it's been crashed a few times, right? So, you know, it's definitely got some crashes in its lifetime. The front brake is bent, so that's obviously an indication that it was crashed. The front brake does stick, which, you know, means that I probably need to do some work on the brake shoes in the front and either clean them, or they could be just full of dust. I don't know. We'll have to pull that apart and I'll do it in another video. The throttle cable, somebody did a really Mickey Mouse job with this. They put some zap straps and some clamps on here to kind of hold everything together. Obviously to make it so it's tight. I know I did a video on my son's PW80, and these throttle cables, if they're not in there properly, they're really hard to adjust the bike. So and it's idle, so I could see why somebody would do that, but you know, I'm gonna make it so that this thing is top notch and it's gonna be in good working order. The steering feels a little bit granulated, so I may have to take apart the head and just lube up the bearings in there. The exhaust looks like it's in pretty good shape. You know, I don't know, it doesn't look like it's been banged around too much. It does have a little bit of oil here, so I'm wondering if it's running really rich. But we'll see. We'll be able to tell when we pull the spark plug out. You know, everything feels pretty good. The rear brake works on this bike. As you can see, it's got the purple air filter box. The chain and sprockets look like they're in pretty good shape. As you can see, they're quite uniform. There's no real pointing to the sprocket itself. The chain probably just needs a good lube and clean. And you know, overall, the rear brake, like the wheel bearings feel fine on it, both the front and the rear. The tires look like they're in good shape. They'll get another few years, maybe a year out of them, depending how much my son or my wife rides this bike. You know, but as you can see, when you, like, it's sticking. It should rebound on its own. So there's an issue there. What else do we got here? So we got, obviously you have your oil for your engine oil that you would top up, that's underneath your seat. I'm going to be doing this bike has already been converted to mixing your gas and oil to 40-1. The person who owned this bike previously disconnected the oil injector pump, and the cable or the hose is still here, as you can see, but he just disconnected it, and it's supposed to be attached to that. So he's already mixing the fuel in this, but I'm going to do a video on how to properly remove your oil injector pump and put a block-off kit, and I'll remove all the tank and stuff like that as well. So I noticed also the guy had said when he bought the bike, or when he sold it to me, sorry, that the carb leaked. So I had the petcock open for a little while, and I noticed that there was some fuel that was building up underneath here. So I suspect that I'll have to rebuild the petcock, which I've already ordered a rebuild kit for it, and I'm not too sure if it's leaking out of here. So we'll see. We'll see if it's draining out of the overflow. He believed it was maybe the float was out, but I mean, the bike runs, it idles good. I haven't really taken it for a good ride, so I don't know how it runs through the gears and stuff like that, but I mean, when I sat on it and kind of moved it, it was working fine. So that's about it that I've noticed wrong with this bike, guys. I'm going to clean it up, and then we'll do the oil change and compression test. All right, so the first step, well, now we're going to do the oil change. The first step we're going to do is, now that you can see that I've got it all nice and clean, we're going to warm it up so that the oil becomes easy to drain out of the bike. So okay, so to drain the oil, there's a bolt under here that I know I told you at the very beginning of the video that it was a 12 mil. It's actually a 17 mil on a 95. It may be a little bit different for you, but if right underneath here there's a bolt, you're just going to, once the motor's all warmed up, you're just going to loosen this bolt off. So it says to make sure the motor's on, or the bike is on its center stand, or bring it up so that all the oil drains out of it. It's also a good tip to take your dipstick out so that the air can go in from the bottom and help drain the oil out of the crankcase. Okay, so I like to clean around the holes to make sure no dirt comes in and all the seals on each one of the drains and the filler. It just helps prevent leaking, and it helps make sure that you know, no dirt's getting inside there. You're just going to take the bolt, you're going to put it back in the bike. I just do it tight, not too tight, but snug enough that it's not going to come loose. So I've got my oil that I'm going to put in there. This bike says that it needs 650 milliliters, so do not overfill it. And then you're going to check it with the dipstick to make sure that it's up to the right amount of oil. So to properly check this, you have to let the motor warm up, and then we'll check it after it sits for 2 to 3 minutes. I've let it sit for a few minutes now, and the way you check your oil on a PW80 is that it has to be level, and the oil, you can see it's got oil right to the top right here, and it's got the right amount of oil in the bike. All right, so obviously watch when you do an oil change, make sure that you check to make sure that it doesn't leak in the future. But now we're gonna do a spark plug change, and also check to make sure that the compression is okay on this bike. So you'll need a 13/16 spark plug wrench. And you're just gonna loosen it off, take it out. You're gonna clean the area that it sits on. And I like to inspect spark plugs just to see where we're at. There's a tiny bit of carbon buildup on that, but not too bad. It looks a little bit wet. So I suspect that the mixture is a little bit rich on this bike, and we may have to make some adjustments in the future to help with that. So, but all that oil like that there is usually a good indicator that it's running rich. Okay, so I've got my compression tester here. I've got the adapter that I need on there. You're just gonna screw it in there, just so it's snug. And the manual says you have to hold the throttle wide open, turn it to the off position on your switch, your kill switch, and just kick it over until you get the highest reading on the bike. Full open throttle, kick it over. Compression on this bike is showing maybe 60 pounds. That's not a heck of a lot of compression. So in the future, we'll see. We'll probably have to rebuild this motor, or at least the top end. So then you're just gonna have a release. Take the old, or take the compression tester out. I like to do a comparison so you can see that's the new one, and then that's the kind of oil fouled plug. We're gonna put the new one in for now. All right, guys, so with the compression being at 60, obviously in the future, I'm probably going to have to do the top end on this. I'm not too concerned about it right now. I just want my kid to kind of ride it and see what he thinks of it. I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the things I'm going to have, future plans for this motorcycle. I'm going to do the top end on it eventually. I'm going to put a new air filter on it that will like a pod air filter, probably an exhaust, and do some Boyson reeds for power mods on this bike. I'm probably going to redo the seat and have it so it's blue instead of purple. I'm going to try to find some graphics for this thing that will be suitable, or potentially wrap it if you guys want me to wrap it. And obviously I'm going to have to make the little fixes like the oil injection pump and the throttle cable, and obviously the brakes. There's another thing I noticed too. There's kind of a Mickey Mouse rear brake sleeve that shouldn't be a bolt. That should be a little sleeve that goes in there. So, but I'll have videos on all of those in the future. So make sure that if you want to see future videos on this PW80 that you certainly subscribe. So, but for now, that's gonna about do it. I'm going to let my wife ride it for a little while until my son is old enough to ride it. So we'll see all the major gremlins that this thing may have, but I doubt it. I think it's going to run pretty good. And yeah, so if you have any comments or questions, please leave them down below. And thanks for watching.